Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I'm Kelly. Hey, you guys, we've kept my age a secret here. I'm sure everybody thinks I'm probably about 26, and I appreciate that.
You do have a young voice.
But nothing made me feel older than, our buddy Carlos. He gave me a PlayStation 4 just so I could have a Blu-ray player, right?
Yeah.
I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out how to get a disc into it, how to open it.
Really?
There's no,
Wait, open
there's
it.
no buttons.
You opened it?
There's nothing on there. I'm just standing there. I'm like, well, I'm not going to call Carlos and tell him that I don't know how to start a PlayStation.
This is like a real seashells moment.
I didn't want to wait for you guys to show up here and go, oh, you just do this. I literally downloaded the PDF of the instruction manual.
God.
And it really pissed me off because it says, place the Blu-ray in the slot. And I'm like, what? Where's the fucking slot in this thing?
The hole on the front.
Yes, but here's the thing. So, I'm running the edge of a Blu-ray along that thing, hoping it'll just get sucked in. Nothing's happening, right? I'm like, where is the slot?
Yeah.
Wow.
Finally was able to get my TV to show the PlayStation logo. And I was like, oh, all right, I'm somewhere here.
Step one.
And then I came in with my bright LED flashlight and found the tiny little button that
it is small.
Ejects a disc, and there was a disc in there, which is why it wouldn't let me put anything in there.
What was the disc?
Yeah, so I'm mad at Carlos for this also because, of course, he had offered me games, and I was like, no, I don't need that. That's just going to be a time waster. Out pops the new Mortal Kombat.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, well, so I've got zero writing done, but I am fucking awesome at Mortal Kombat now, you guys.
Do you have a character you like to play at this point?
Okay, so this is going to make me old. I can't remember their names.
That's okay.
The blind guy.
Sure.
Kenshi or something like that. Does that sound right? Kenshi, wait.
If it makes you feel better, I haven't played Mortal Kombat since probably Mortal Kombat 2. So,
well, I think I told you the last video game thing I had was the original PlayStation. And so that would have been when I played Mortal Kombat.
Oh my God.
Oh man. Yeah.
So,
a lot less polygons.
No kidding.
Smoother,
yeah. I've had the same problem, I guess you'd say, with Halo. It's so good. It's so fun. And the art is ridiculous. So it's just like, and it's fun. It's because what makes video games kind of cool is that's all you can do. Once you're in that thing, you're not looking at your phone like you can do during a movie. You're just, it's in the zone.
You're certainly not writing.
No, that's true. That is true. You could write about Mortal Kombat. I know a guy down in California that would be really happy if you wrote a better Mortal Kombat movie.
Anyway, Carlos, next time I see you, I'll be bringing your Mortal Kombat disc back to you.
So I can kick your ass.
He's just going to come over and you guys are going to play for like 3 days. That's what's going to happen.
He just moved into his new place and he's knocking down walls and everything and getting his new studio set up. And I'm really excited to get down there and see what he's got going on.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Besides fucking away all of my writing time, I've watched a couple of things just lately. Did you guys even know anything about the animated The Boys Presents Diabolical?
No.
Yes. I kept thinking,
what?
Send this to Kelly. I kept forgetting, but has it started?
Yeah, the entire season available right now. It's a 8-episode animated series.
Okay.
Takes place in the world, but not in continuity.
Okay.
You do end up with some of the characters from the series, but they're animated the way they look in the comic book.
Oh, cool.
And the best part was seeing Huey voiced by Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
So that was neat. And I don't know, it's kind of hit and miss, but or hit or miss. And that's okay because every episode is about 16 minutes long.
Oh,
wow.
sure.
So you're like, oh, I didn't waste
Is
too
it-
much time on this.
Is it sort of a what if kind of thing, or
No, it's almost like, well, I guess there would be a what if in our world. What if The Boys was an animated series and every episode was done by a different animation company with a different
Oh.
style?
Yeah.
So like one of the episodes feels very much like the Rick and Morty episode, and one of them it feels very much like an old Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, okay.
That's so
Sure.
fun.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't love it, but it's certainly an easy way to pass a couple of minutes.
Oh, cool.
That's nice.
That's extremely cool.
That's on Amazon Prime, by the way.
Well, I have watched just incredibly stupid stuff because I've been working and trying not to have a mental breakdown. Like too many projects. So the thing I watched, unfortunately, is a little show on Netflix called Love is Blind.
Oh my God.
I know.
I'm not familiar. Listeners, Vanessa covered her face in her hands while she was telling us about this. So this must be something very silly.
It's so embarrassing to admit, especially for me, because I don't watch reality TV.
Yeah, you do.
And now I mean, this I do. It's so bad. I watched the first episode ironically because I was like, oh, I'm eating a meal and I don't want to watch anything I have to pay attention to. So let's put this piece of crap on.
Is that
5 hours later.
is that the one where they never meet until the end?
Yes. So, well, what it is they're in these pods and they do kind of speed dating and they're living in this like offsite location and they can't see the people they're talking to. So they're just getting to know these people's personalities. Right. And by the end of the pod stay, if they connect with somebody, they propose to them. With the idea being that, yes, they will get married because they fell in love with this person.
Wait a second. They propose to get married after doing this and not seeing each other?
Yeah. That's why it's called Love is Blind.
All right.
Yeah. So then they meet and then they start to spend time together in the real world. They move in together. It's for like 2 weeks. And then at the end of 2 weeks, they either are at the altar and leave the other person at the altar or they actually get married. So it's really high drama.
Jeez,
Some really fucking high drama.
I remember when this show was called The Dating Game.
Sure. Yeah.
Bachelor number 1, if I was a popsicle, what would you do to me?
Ew. Yeah, it's interesting because the personalities are so diverse, of course. A lot of times you're like, you shouldn't take it from that piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. And that person's such an idiot. Don't let them, whatever. And, oh, she's too good and whatever. I don't know. I got really sucked in and time went by and at least it was something I didn't have to really I didn't have to think about it. So that was a big plus. But yeah, don't watch it unless you want to watch all of it because you will not just watch one of them. You won't. You will watch the whole thing.
It's like potato chips.
It is. You won't like
it's not good for you.
It's not. And you'll know as you're watching it how bad it is for you. But you will get I even watched the last additional episode that's another hour that's like, where are they now? Because I was like, oh, did so-and-so and so-and-so get back together? They really belong together. And you guys will know who I'm talking about. Yeah.
Well, I'm putting that on the list and then I am crumpling that list up and I'm tossing it right in the garbage.
Yes.
Right. That sounds fair.
If I could mind wipe you so you had no idea what the title of the show is, I would do it.
I started a different kind of show.
Yeah.
Also on Netflix, though. Just started watching it last night with Dana. Pieces of Her. You seen this one? It's got Toni Collette and Bella Heathcote.
Well, you got me with Tony, though. So
yeah, exactly. And the whole storyline is, it's the first episode starts with a shooting, a mass shooting kind of thing. Toni does something that her daughter has never seen her do. And you suddenly start to realize that Colette's got a past. And whatever it is really bad. Because even later on that night, she shows up as a hero on the TV, and later on that night, somebody shows up at the house to kill her.
Oh.
And there's all this shit's like going, what did she do? What is going? And it's really, really good.
Wow.
I think we watched first 2 episodes, but
That's called what? Pieces of Her? Okay, I'm going to have to make a different list of things I actually am going to watch.
Yeah,
That's fair.
That one's solid.
That sounds much better. Yeah. Much better.
That's on Netflix?
Yeah.
I started watching on Apple TV From.
I do not know what this is.
No?
I don't know.
Apple TV last year did a show I really enjoyed called Chapelwaite, which was a very bad adaptation of a Stephen King story, but a very good show to watch. I mean, it was nothing like the story, and I was like, oh, they really captured the feel of Stephen King. This feels like a Stephen King series again. It's about a group of people who are stuck in a town and they cannot leave. They tried to drive, and pretty soon they find themselves in the town. So,
like the dome?
Yeah, a little bit like that, only not a dome around them.
Right.
Just the inability to leave. And every once in a while, there's like barricades, or not barricades, but like natural barricades, trees down over the road or something like that, that is preventing people from coming into the town. But sometimes somebody, gets around the barricade, and now they're stuck in the town, and they have to be told this is what's going on and everything. So that's kind of the premise. But then the twist is that at night there is something out there hunting these people.
Ooh.
And I thought at first vampires, because they kind of act that way, but they're some kind of monster, and they tear people apart, but they look like humans. And everybody has a tiny little, like a stone medallion hanging in their window that's supposed to ward off these things somehow. So I'm only about 3 episodes in. It's got some genuine creeps in it, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think it is one of the producers of Lost, and it's got, now I can't remember his name, Perrineau. Henry Perrineau. He was in Lost.
Oh,
yeah.
He's the lead guy.
I remember seeing a trailer for this now that you mention it. I just hope to God it's not Aliens. If it could ever just not be Aliens, that's whenever, like, anytime Stephen King stuff sucks, it's because it's Aliens.
This feels very evil monster and not alien.
Great. So totally in. That sounds incredible.
You've also got an alien phobia too, though.
Matt, I can't.
Yeah.
And I don't. It's just it's a stupid thing to fall back on. And when you fall back on it, either it goes really, really terrifying for me, or it's stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
Fun.
Well, this will probably end badly, but I really liked what I saw so far.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, another thing that I started watching, and there's a new season of out, is The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
I keep looking at that, wanted to check it out. It looks like it's pretty smart and fun.
Oh my gosh, it's really good. It's really, really good especially for anybody who enjoyed the writing behind Gilmore Girls. It's like a better, cleaner, higher budget. And I you did not have to
seen Gilmore Girls. So.
You were not a teenage girl in, the
90s.
Late 90s, early 2000s, and that's totally okay. Everyone's so dreamy in that show.
I have heard, everybody loves this show.
It's a great show. It's so witty, so fast. It's very loving towards the era it's in, which is the kind of 60s. It has just great characters. There's no character that, even in episode 1, when you hate certain people and you have an idea of who they are, as the show envelops, they end up being some of your favorite characters, and just it's incredible.
Nice.
But I will say, I was like, I can't commit to this. I have too much to do. I have watched the first few episodes and was like, I gotta not watch anymore for a while.
Plus, I got 4 episodes of Love Is Blind to finish.
I finished it finally 2 nights ago.
After 3 nights of watching it.
I know. It was bad.
What you gonna do? On a different note, the latest Joe Bob, I think it was a Valentine's Day or something.
Yeah.
I thought I had seen, but apparently had not seen Black Roses.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I mean, this might have been the coolest VHS box art special.
Sure.
And it was Black Roses and Frankenhooker.
Yep.
And that is a stupid, entertaining movie.
It really is.
Black Roses or
yeah,
Frankenhooker?
Black Roses.
Yeah.
Black Roses is, it's got, what's his name? One of the guys from The Sopranos has one of the more spectacular deaths when he gets killed by the stereo.
Oh, I didn't remember the guy from The Sopranos was in it.
Yeah, but you probably wouldn't have known that when you watched it. I'm
Right.
guessing you watched it before The Sopranos, because this isn't one you need to go, you know what I need to watch? I need to go watch Black Roses again. But it was really fun.
Yeah.
And I have turned over now Joe Bob was always fine for me. I loved his writing.
Yeah.
His show's freaking great, man.
Yeah.
He
Like,
is.
God,
He's a super entertaining guy.
yeah, he is really good. But so yeah, that was one of the things I watched, and it was just dumb and entertaining and bad music, man. Ooh.
Yeah. This is the one where
Really
the band is coming to town and half the town is against it because they're super Christian.
It's sort of. I mean, that's what that kind of cracked me up. That is what it is, but it takes like 10 minutes of the first concert before every one of the people against us said, "Oh, these guys aren't that bad," and they all leave.
Yep.
Every one of them.
All the adults are like, we're good.
I know,
This is fine. It's for the kids.
Yeah,
you
because
know?
he starts off doing a kind of I don't know, like a Rick Astley almost kind of music where it's real mellow and poppy, and then of course he leaves and it becomes less poppy,
It's
but
the
not
same
that much
kind
less.
of stuff. It's almost the same music, but now they have their shirts off.
Yes, exactly.
It's amazing. The Devil's music. Oh man.
Yeah, it's fun. It definitely fits in that small but awesome group of metal made movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that one out. Because those are on Shudder, right?
Yeah, Shudder.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that one again because I'm sure he had a lot of trivia in between.
He had some. This was one that they were. He was doing his probably smart to do reverence to Shudder, because they brought his career back.
Yeah.
There was another show on there, which is a horror version of RuPaul's Drag Race,
Oh, okay.
and they had the two people that run that on, who actually were fairly entertaining. I'm going,
Yeah. They were pretty well spoken.
This might be a fun, and they knew their shit too. They were throwing out trivia about Black Roses as well. So it was they were still talking about the show.
Right.
It wasn't the usual
Like
filmmakers or something on there.
deep dive.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. I will check that out right after we take a break for a word from our sponsor.
Last week, our daughter-in-law Nancy had us over for spaghetti dinner. Well, it was not bad. Even my husband Angelo liked it. Then I found out it was ragu spaghetti sauce from a jar. Well, before I could say anything, Nancy told me it's made from the same things I put in my own sauce, like ripe tomatoes, Romano cheese, spices, herbs. This week I made ragu sauce, and it's better than Nancy's, huh?
Ragu spaghetti sauce. That's Italian.
And we're back. I guess this is kind of my choice, but this was really Micah's choice.
Sure.
And that was that we do some 80s Italian schlock, I guess you might call it. He said he was okay with the ripoffs, with the bad horror, with whatever. And man, you guys, I picked a doozy.
Ooh.
From 1988, I picked Primal Rage.
Don't think I'll fall down at your feet or be a slave or count every heartbeat. 'Cause I don't think
year's event.
And if the antics of last year are repeated, then this year's Halloween ball will be the last.
Mr. Vice President, are you referring to the drinking?
Yes, I'm referring to the drinking, the drugs, the nudity, and the general lewd behavior that shames our entire university. Any questions?
Oh, shit.
You guys familiar with this at all?
It sounds familiar, but
Not to be confused with the Bigfoot movie I just watched a couple months ago called Primal Rage, The Legend of Kombat.
I was wondering if that was. I was like, haven't you done this movie?
And it did make researching this a little difficult.
Yeah.
I could find no budget or box office info. The Rotten Tomatoes critic score is nothing. It's not been reviewed. And the audience has it at 17%.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Anyway, it was directed by Vittorio Rambaldi, who did Decoy, Io rado un'amica dello spazio, and The Breath of the Soul. It was written by Umberto Lenzi, who did Ghost House, Cannibal Ferox, and Scusi le normale.
Oh my God.
It was also written by James Justice, who was the director of Nightmare Beach. Eric, remember that one? And he, Umberto, and Vittorio all wrote Nightmare Beach together under the nom de plume Harry Kirkpatrick.
Oh, all right, sure.
Yes, very strange. It stars Patrick Lowe. He was in Slumber Party Massacre 2, 3 episodes of something called Generations, and 1 episode of Quantum Leap. That is the entirety of his career.
Wow.
Just a little surprising because he's a pretty good-looking kid and a decent actor. So. Also, Cheryl Arut, who has been in just a number of ABC after-school specials in the 80s. Sarah Buxton, who you would probably recognize. She's I guess she's pretty, but in a weird way. Almost I don't know. Just in case she's listening, I'll leave it there. She was in Nightmare Beach, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, and 550 episodes of Sunset Beach, and is still working today.
Whoa.
And also, the real name in this is Bo Svensson. 121 credits, including Kill Bill 1 and 2, Delta Force, Beyond the Door 3, and he is also still working today. Okay, this movie, let me just say, I enjoyed this movie.
Oh, good.
Nice.
It's not a good movie, but I enjoyed it. So it opens with these opening credits of our main guy, Sam, and he is biking through campus, a college campus, and he's taking pictures of, hot young co-eds working out, dogs, people doing crossword puzzles. He's just taking pictures, right? But that doesn't matter because it is all to the tune Say the Word by the Facade Band.
Sure.
Now, this is a song you'll become very intimate with because it plays over these opening credits. It also plays for about 14 minutes on repeat during a Halloween party towards the end.
Yes.
And it plays over the end credits.
Okay.
Yes.
By the end of the movie, I not only knew the words to this song, I was singing them all along with it. So our hero is Sam. He is a photographer for the local college newspaper, and he's been constantly harassed by his best friend, Duffy, to do an expose on illegal experimentation on monkeys in the science lab. I'm not sure how often the college science labs are doing these kind of experiments, but it seems a little far-fetched to me. And Sam also seems far-fetched to him. He's not sure he believes him. So Duffy takes it upon himself to break into the lab late at night. And there he finds, I got to admit, a fairly terrifying looking baboon.
Oh.
With his butt hanging out. One of those kind of baboons, like prolapsed anus. And it's just like, I feel like we could have edited this so we never had to see this part of him.
Oh my
But
God.
they're like, no, we're using it. So he starts taking pictures of this baboon, and this enrages the baboon, which is able to then shake its cage open, and he bites him, and then he goes breaking through the science lab window and out into the night streets, right? And Yeah. So now we're thinking, oh shit, we're getting a baboon loose in the city movie. But the baboon runs into the street and is immediately hit by a police car and killed.
Oh,
All right.
jeez.
And Bo Svensson, who's the professor or the science lab professor, he walks up and he's like, this is going to set us back by weeks. He's like, okay. So we are also introduced to Sam's girlfriend, Lauren. When I say girlfriend, she becomes his girlfriend very quickly after he stops a tow truck driver from taking her car away. Starts taking pictures of the guy and saying, this car hasn't been ticketed and it's illegal to tow a non-ticketed car or something like that. It all sounds very fishy to me, but the guy is scared away. And Lauren now is like, oh, my hero. So we meet her, and then we meet her new roommate, Debbie. And the way we meet her is she's telling us that she's starting the semester late because she just had an abortion.
Oh my God.
Hi, nice to meet you. Let me tell you a story.
That's exactly.
Oh,
and then when Lauren is like a little uncomfortable, Debbie responds, welcome to the real world. She tells her, and I suppose us, to let us know what kind of movie we're in store for. This isn't your typical baboon on the loose movie. We also find out her new roommate, who is, quite beautiful in a strange way, can calculate in her head the number of diagonals in a hexagon. Debbie tells her, my IQ is 184. And Lauren responds, oh God, you don't look... And then stops. I hope she was going to say something anti-Semitic, but there's no way we'll ever know.
Oh, jeez.
Later, Sam visits with Duffy, who doesn't cop to being responsible for the baboon escaping, but is looking very sickly from the strange bite on his hand. And Sam, even so, Sam sets him up with Debbie, who just had the abortion. They end up going out, macking, and he gives her a hickey. You guys remember hickeys?
Oh, yeah.
Good times.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then he goes a little wonky, and we soon realize he's been infected with a rage virus, like 13 years before 28 days later.
Dun, dun.
I was watching this going, Jesus Christ, this is pretty much the beginning of 28 days later.
Weird.
The monkey breaks out, bites somebody, and then that person. Anyway, he goes on a tear through the campus. He's breaking shit and attacking people. And it's all quite goofy.
Does he get hit by a police car?
He does not, but he is starting to change.
Oh.
He's starting to mutate.
Oh.
And meanwhile, the next day, Debbie isn't feeling great.
Because she gave him that hickey.
Because he gave her that hickey.
Oh.
She has the flu. Even though she has the flu, she's still out and about walking for some reason. And I guess that would make it her fault when she's walking down the street, and she is assaulted by 3 men who drag her up to their dorm room and attempt to gang rape her.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
Why?
What year
Why
was
is
this
a
again?
plot device?
Italian horror.
Good
Jesus.
point. Good point. Yeah, they're
God.
pretty bad about that.
Fortunately for her, but very unfortunately for them, Duffy's hickey has infected her and given her super rage strength.
Yes.
She attacks the shit out of them and then infects them.
Beautiful.
Sam finally catches up with his buddy Duffy, who is starting to look very monstrous, and it's some pretty cool prosthetic makeup effects, way better than you would expect from a movie of this, let's say, quality. And Sam has to kill him, and it's very sad for about 1 second. The music attempts to kind of push you in that direction, and then you're back off and running again. Let's see. We're then thrust into this amazing Halloween party that is happening in the gigantic gymnasium of this college, and it is some fantastic New Orleans Mardi Gras style costumes that you wouldn't see like in a Halloween movie type thing. But the problem is they all look like they were designed by one very creative person.
Oh, sure.
In the costume department.
Yeah.
Of this movie.
Everybody was dressed by the same.
Yeah. But they are super cool. One of the guys has he's got this huge mask on that has a person sawing through his head, and the sawing is moving.
Oh,
And it's
crazy.
like, God damn, that's an amazing costume. Also, it is being hosted by the Facade Band, and they are playing their hit song
Shocking.
over and over and over as Debbie and the 3 rapist monsters are trying to hunt down Sam and Lauren.
Mhm.
There's some pretty cool kills at the party. I was starting to really have a blast with this movie because, it's a cliche for a reason, but if you're killed at a Halloween party, everyone is automatically going to assume that it is a joke because
Sure.
it's horror, right?
Yep.
You got your head ripped off. You're like, man, that is a great costume, dude. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you exactly how this ends. I will. I'm going to tell you exactly how this ends because I loved it. There's this absolutely wonderful death scene at the end where Bo Svensson is attacking our guys after we think that they've gotten away. They've stopped Debbie and her monsters, and then Bo Svensson shows up. We know he's the real bad guy, and he attacks, but is then thrown off of the deck that they are on. And he lands on the ground where his head is impaled with a irrigation sprinkler, and the water is shooting out of his mouth.
Oh my God.
So his head is like on the side, the water's just. And I was like, you know what? Fucking love this. Mwah! Chef's kiss. So, my thoughts. In the end, this film works as well as a teen comedy drama as it does horror, which is to say, not very well at all. None of this makes a lick of sense. It's super fun. It's not scary at all. It is so 80s that it's ridiculous. The music, the fashion, the hair is just like, holy shit. This is the 80s they're making fun of in the movies about the 80s now.
Right. Yep.
It's so over the top. It's ridiculous. But super fun. You guys got to watch this movie. I got some trivia. Very little. I will just say this film has some great Italian horror pedigree. So written by Umberto Lanzi, scored in part by Claudio Simonetti, who is the keyboard player of Goblin, of course, right?
Sure.
And the special effects were coordinated by Carlo Rambaldi, who is the father of Vittorio Rambaldi, who directed this. But Carlo did the effects for Aliens, E.T., King Kong. So that's why the effects look great in this. Couple of taglines. Primal Fear, Primal Scream, Primal Rage.
It's like a triple bill or something.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Just like, oh.
And then here's this one, which is bad. It's 2 sentences. Either one of them could have been a better one on its own, but they put them together. It's like, we can't decide. We love them so much. There's a new party animal in town.
Oh.
She'll bring out the beast in you.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah. That would have.
Was the monkey a girl?
Well, I think that, no, the monkey gets killed very quickly.
Yeah. But
it's-
who's the she?
I believe that's supposed to be Debbie.
Okay. Like
Debbie.
the last one.
Debbie.
Okay. Oh my God.
I liked it. And I must thank Micah for suggesting this because I never would have found this movie without it.
That
Cool.
sounds incredible. You've had some amazing picks lately. I'm so jelly. Although I will say my pick was pretty freaking great.
There you go.
I went with 1989's The Church.
I'm not familiar with this.
I'm shocked that I wasn't as well because it's got some pretty big names before it in it. So quickly though.
Please put on your best offensive Italian accent while you're reading these names.
Leave that alone for you. You can do that on your own, man.
Well, let me get to the Rotten Tomatoes scores first. The easy one. So it has a critic score of 64% and audience of 49%. I don't know who these people are. I mean, like in 1989, how are they scoring these? Where are they getting these numbers from? Like old? Are they going through archival newspapers?
Well, that's the weird thing. That somebody's job had to be to find the reviews for this movie.
They're
right?
like, to Italy we go. Let's look at these papers. 3 spaghetti out of 5. I don't know. It seems good.
Oh, there you
Sorry.
go.
I apologize.
That was somehow more offensive than my accent.
I know. I wasn't sure what they would use as like a qualifier. So the budget was $3.5 million US dollars. And the box office was 1.926 billion Italian lira.
There you go.
This sounds like something you would do to confuse your investors. We're rich.
I got
made 2 billion lira.
It's amazing. Yeah, I was looking at a Wikipedia to get that info, and I was like, how come you guys didn't translate either of these to the other? But that's what I got. I was like, I'm not going to try and figure out in 1989 what lira would equate to modern day US dollar. So it is directed by Michel Suave. He's done 27 things, including Stage Fright, Brothers Grimm, lots of Italian miniseries. And this was his second narrative feature. His first was Dario Argento's World of Horror documentary. He was a total Argento fanboy since he was about 14.
Have you seen that?
I have not.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
Oh, man. He was a huge fan, which is good because it's written by Dario Argento.
Oh, that is.
He's responsible for the story, 42 credits, including things we've covered on the show, such as Phenomena, Deep Red, Suspiria, and Cat of Nine Tails. Franco Fernini also worked on the story. He's done 63 things, including Phenomena, Once Upon a Time in America, Opera, Demons 2, and Michel, I don't know if it's Michael or Michelle, but Michel Suave, because it's Italian. And so the director actually was I think he was the last set of hands on the script, and he pretty drastically changed it from what it was. So this is starring Asia Argento.
Oh boy.
As Lottie. It's okay. She's like a teenager.
Oh, so she only gets mostly naked?
She didn't get at all naked in this.
Yeah.
It was,
That was when her dad was directing her, I believe, is when she first did that.
Ew.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Super gross.
Oh, yeah. No, she's definitely like a middle school, like upper middle school, maybe early high school girl in this. And she is fully clothed all the time. Thank God. So she's been in 72 things. I didn't know a lot about Asia Argento. Did she date Marilyn Manson? Was she one of his?
I don't know.
Okay.
That I don't know.
That might be why
she had a
heard of her.
brief stint. I don't know. Was it late 90s or something where she got, I think she was in Triple X or one of those action movies and she had a big name for a little while.
Yeah, she's been in actually 72 things. This was her 5th role. She also did Demons 2. She went on to be in the 1998 Phantom of the Opera. She was in the 2000 Les Mis miniseries. She was in Love Bites, Triple X, The Keeper, Last Days. We also have Thomas Arana as Evan. He's been in 118 things, lots of bit roles in films. He was in Gladiator. He's been in The New Pope, Born Supremacy, Guardians of the Galaxy, lots of walk-on TV roles. The biggest role I could kind of find for him was probably Lazarus in The Last Temptation of Christ. I was like, Lazarus, that would have been an important role. Writing it down. Hugh Corsi as Father Gus, or Corsi? Anyway, as Father Gus, he's been in 77 things, including Captain Panica in Star Wars Episode 1. He was also Sundra in Highlander. He was in Nightbreed, Red Sparrow, and now lots of UK TV. We had Fyodor Shalepin Jr. as the Bishop, old man. He's been 54 things, mostly roles, including lots of bit roles, including one where he played bit role. He was in Moonstruck, In the Name of the Rose, and Inferno. And Barbara Cupisti as Lisa. She's been in 32. See, I'm doing my best.
I appreciate this so much.
Yeah.
She's been in 32 things, mostly Italian films and TV, also was an opera, stage fright, and she's also a documentary director. So she's doing a lot of that kind of work on her own. The story, man, okay, I thought it was ancient Italy. It was not. We were in Hamburg, ancient Hamburg. Knights of the Crusades, evil ones, are beckoned to a rural village where a girl with a stigmata on her foot has been found. When they get there, basically this like really untrustworthy guy who's like, hoo, come this way into this rock like village, this village behind this set of rocks. Don't worry, these people are definitely evil, and I'm not tricking you into murdering them all. So of course,
good to know.
They go in, they see the girl, they immediately, like the knight holds her beautiful face in his hands, strokes her cheek, and then crushes it with his fist, and then beheads her, and a bunch of horses stampede on her decapitated head. They kill everybody. I mean, everybody. They make a giant, enormous pit, which they would have had no time to dig. This thing is like 20 feet by 20 feet in size. It is ridiculous. And they're throwing all the bodies in there. And at one point, they just chuck a goose in there, like a dead goose. I was like, you guys took this very seriously.
That was my dinner, man.
I was thinking, that is a perfectly good goose. What is up with this? And then, like, as they're doing it, you know, they're like, oh, all of these people have been infected by demons, and there was a rock outside that said 666, and so they're trying to bury it, and one of the knights on his horse starts to fall in, and then they just bury him in there too. And the horse is just dead. I don't know how it just dies from like a small stumble, and it is a crazy opening. And the knights are clearly the knights that ended up having the KKK costumes based on later. It's very, very KKK looking. Fun times. I'm sorry. So they decide the way to deal with this giant pit of possessed dead people is to build a church on it. And that way the Antichrist will not be able to rise again. The evil will be trapped essentially in this little lock and key that is a church.
This is before they had movies. Otherwise, they would have known that, no, that's not how it works ever.
Did you guys not see Poltergeist? Come on, man.
Exactly. Literally it just seemed like a bad idea from the get-go. Not clever thinking, but whatever. There is one character that's really interesting. Is running around. It's a kid who I just lovingly call Basket Face. He's trying to hide. No, it's because he has a basket on his face. It's a
term of affection.
It's really, he's like hiding from them, and he has like this sort of shawl, and like the face area is just a basket. So he keeps just sitting there, and people just keep walking by him. And I'm like, you guys, that basket is moving a lot. Like, you should nab him. And they do eventually get him, but not after he has witnessed all that he has seen. But he still dies. So I was like, I don't know. Anyway, many years later, Hamburg exists, big city, and this church is right smack dab in the middle of it. A new librarian, Evan, is hired to start and sort out their library in this church. He shows up and immediately flirts with the restoration artist, Lisa, who's just working lovingly on this horrific, weird mural of a giant demon eating a guy with a big butt. They're all naked. It's just incredible. He immediately asks her out for coffee, and she's like, okay, cool, sure, later. We also meet the surly bishop of the church, who's like, you're very late. And a young girl named Lottie, who's played by Asia And she is the daughter of the sacristan, so lives there on site. She's quirky and silly, and she's like playing with stuff underneath the desk, even though she's in middle school. I was like, I don't think she'd have like crayons and toys and shit, like, and be like playing make believe under a desk. But whatever, they flip pretty wildly on the character of this particular person. And then we also meet the kindly Father Gus, who is great and seems cool, and everyone else doesn't. During the restoration process of this painting, they somehow crack the foundation. I'm not sure why they're digging in any way, shape, or form. They don't need to. It's just a painting, guys. It's cool. But they somehow crack the foundation. And so Lisa goes down and is like, stop. The whole thing is going to fall down. We have to, make sure I have to write a report, she says. I have to go write a very important report about this. She then uncovers, by brushing some stuff away, a giant hole that just erupts into this column. She reaches in, which I wouldn't do in a church, like in the basement of a church that might fall down. I would not put my hand in a concrete hole, but okay. And she reaches in and grabs a piece of paper that's been shoved in there. It seems to have some interesting symbols and stuff on it. She shows it to Evan, who just immediately becomes obsessed with it. He hides it from the bishop, and he decides to be sacrilegious with it. He takes it off site and tries to figure out what it means. And as far as he can uncover through, because he's a librarian, so I guess he's good at this, it's something about a stone with 7 eyes. So he goes from being, I guess, our main character to just being weird and like obsessive about figuring out this puzzle. So he starts spending all his time in the church, and he eventually finds, first he sleeps with Lisa, of course. Then he goes back to the church.
At least he, it's Italian. At least he didn't rape her. Just,
Well, don't speak too soon. We're early in this.
The day is young.
We're not there yet, okay? He starts digging around the church, and of course he finds a basement with a large cross buried in it. At the bottom, it's a flat cross kind of embedded. We did, in fact, see this earlier. It is probably on a 20-foot by 20-foot covered up hole filled with demonic bodies, which, by the way, those people seem very nice. I don't know how they thought they were demons, but whatever. Apparently they were. So he finds the stone, starts to move the stone, removes the stone, which I was like, again, you guys, this is like ancient stuff. You probably don't want to fuck with it. Lifts it up, and he immediately cuts himself, and it almost looks like a cross, but it's kind of missing one of the 2 lines you need for a cross. So I'm like, I guess he has a stigmata.
It's a pole.
Yeah, it's just a cut. I was like, all right. When he pulls the stone up, the whole cross falls down into what looks like infinity. There's some kind of deep, dark water, hundreds and hundreds of feet below. And the cross is just shining and sparkling and making its way down and down and down. And he did not fall in, but a giant blue light emerges and comes out at his face. And then he reaches down into the cross hole and brings out a giant, gross-looking sack that looks like it's made out of like leathered human skin. He opens the sack, and 2 demon arms reach out and start to strangle him. Oh. He then falls backwards, hits his head, opens his eyes, and there's nothing there. The cross is back to where it was. There's still a hole where like the stone he brought out was, but everything's fine. And he's like, that's weird. He looks and he cut his hand, and he's like, okay, well, that's real. Puts the stone back, and then makes his way over to Lisa's. But along the way, he starts to not feel so good. Goes to the phone booth to call her, and all he can do is gargle. And she's like, who is this? And she stays for a surprisingly long time on the phone with him. It's like, tell me really more. So he starts to become the Satan, whatever, reincarnate. The beast. He becomes the beast, and starts to look like monstrous, but sometimes only in like reflections and stuff. So he races his way over to Lisa's place, where she is attacked by some mysterious thing in the night. She calls the police, who show up in about 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, she runs, she leaps, like she does this really good Argento. I'm going to call it the Argento like roll, or the Argento dive out of windows, where you just go 2 hands forward, dive fully through glass, no problem at all, land on your feet, and immediately runs into the police, who she called 1 second before. And they think she's crazy. Next morning, she sees Evan at the church, and she's like, "Hey, I got attacked at this thing last night. It was crazy. How come you didn't come home?" Because they're now living together, I guess, one day after their first date. And
Sure.
he's kind of like dismissive of her, and doesn't take her seriously. And then he tries to rape her
Oh, well, shit.
immediately. But does not, because she gets away. And then as she runs out of the room, Lottie comes in and is like, "Hey, what's up? We're going to hang out. You're my buddy pal." And I'm like, oh my God, you got girl, Lisa, you couldn't say to Lottie, "Hey, young girl, maybe don't go and hang out alone with this guy who just literally tried to rape me 1 second before." Of course, Lottie's hanging out with him, and he starts acting really weird. He's typing very hard on his typewriter, 666 over and over and over again. Very Jack Torrance. And she's like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm listening to my cool bebop tunes on my headset." And then he's like, "How come you're not in school?" She's like, "Oh, well, I wasn't feeling good." Lie, lie, lie. And he's like, "You're lying." She's like, "No, I'm not. I didn't feel good. I had a tummy ache." He's like, "You had a tummy ache?" And then he lifts up her shirt with a knife and starts kind of moving the knife over her stomach, saying, "Let's cut it out." It's really fucking sinister. Very quickly, she runs off to tell her father and is like, "Hey, the librarian is crazy and is doing weird things." Her father, however, also seems to be acting kind of weird, and he's sweating blood.
Oh, shit.
And he's like,
again?
And he's holding a big knife because he's cutting onions, and he's about to attack her, and she runs out again. She escapes from the church and goes straight to a nightclub. So she's going to dance the night away to get over her stresses about it. Meanwhile, the church is filling up with a bunch of just fun characters. We have a teacher who needs her glasses to see, and all the students that come along with that. There's a high-end wedding shoot that's happening outside with a bunch of photographers, and they ask permission to get some photos inside the church. So they're in there. There's a couple of bikers who are on their way to a concert. They've decided to stop and hang out for some reason. There's an eccentric old couple. So the church has become filled with fodder, essentially.
So, I mean, this is a stupid question, I'm sure.
Sure.
Why is everybody coming to the church?
I think as tourists.
Okay.
Yeah. They just want to see what's inside.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And just hang out, I guess, as you do. So, 'cause it's a big, big, beautiful church. However, something breaks for some reason. I can't say why. And a bunch of sand fills a thing, and then all the doors start to close. And the church is in lockdown because the Antichrist has risen and no one is allowed. This is the safety measure they've put in place just in case it happens.
Wait a second. So it's not the, okay. I know this is a stupid question.
Keep going.
It's an Italian horror film.
It's not the evil that has locked all the doors.
No.
It's the good.
It's the good.
To keep the evil in.
Good is a relative term here. They're really KKK nights, but all right. Yes. The ones that slaughtered a huge village full of people had the foresight to build a church that had a secret architectural structure that would go into lockdown should the Antichrist rise, should the foundation, I think. If you remove the whole, I don't know. I'm not sure what on earth causes this thing to happen, but it happens.
This might be one of the greatest movies you have ever talked about on this show.
I got to say, I am hooked. I really want to see this movie.
You have to see this movie. It is nuts. So everybody is now locked in, and now we switch main characters. I'm not sure. I don't think there's a main character in this show. There's just not. We're now following Gus, the good priest. He's trying to figure out what's happening. He goes up to the bishop. He's like, "What is going on here? Things are weird. I just had a guy come into confession, Lottie's father, who's like, I think I'm a demon and I want to kill." And then he just punches through the wooden panel that separates the confession from the priest area. He just punches him through and runs out screaming at the people in the middle of the church. And so, of course, Gus is like, "What is going on here?" And the bishop is acting very strange because he's been studying one piece of paper very intently this whole movie. It is very odd. It's like a picture of a Jesus on the cross, and he has figured this whole thing out from this. So the bishop is like, "We do nothing. We cannot leave. We must just stay and remain. And then he says, I've discovered there is a secret button that if you press, the entire church will implode on itself and prevent hell from rising up beneath us. And so Gus is like, what's the button? And he's like, I'll never tell. And then he immediately falls off the top of the church and impales himself on a spike.
Whoa.
My.
Yes. Very, very beautiful. And Gus is like, why, God, why? Because he just wants the answer of how to stop whatever is happening from happening. In the meantime, anytime somebody gets scratched or, spit on or touches the water in the holy water in the church, they are becoming demonic as well and becoming possessed. And it's not that you see them looking like demons, it's more in their reflections. You see these weird things just start to happen. The biker sees his girlfriend around the corner, completely nude, like making out with this giant black winged serpent creature. It's crazy. And like it's on a roller. So it just kind of rolls away. And he like turns his head around the corner to see what he just saw. And his girlfriend is stood there with all her clothes on. She's like, this place is weird. Let's get out of here. And so, of course, everyone's trying to find a way out of this strange situation. Demons are getting worse and worse. At one point, the sacristant, the Lottie's dad, grabs like a kind of a gate filled with spikes that is inside the church, like blocking off one of the statues, and then just impales the bride on the door. And all the kids, I was like, the kids must be really freaked out by this. And they're just like, a few hours later, the kids are just hanging around in the pews, playing, making jokes.
Kids bounce back,
they do just fine. Meanwhile, of course, Evan is becoming more and more giant goat creature. He's basically, the people who are getting infected in the church are beginning to form this cult, and they start to have a giant orgy sort of thing, and they're praying down in the basement, and they take Lisa and they strip her nude and put her on a rock and paint her, and then I think the idea is to gang rape her, but we only see Evan as a giant goat raping her, so that's okay.
Oh, that's all right.
It's just one.
Oh my!
I mean, she really protests, and then she gets pretty catatonic about it. So I don't really know. That's sort of the end of her character development right there. So Gus is trying to figure out the answer and discovers that he does kind of find a button to. It's so complicated, guys. I don't know. He finds the button. He presses it, but before he presses it, the orgy has become a giant mud orgy, and it lifts up through the church on this giant pedestal of like human beings, like kind of writhing around on this. I don't even know. It's so cool and weird. And at the same time, he opens up a piece of the ground that has a giant like architectural weird, I don't know what this is called, a cog. And he presses he presses one thing, and the whole church just sort of falls on itself. So yeah, that's basically the end of the movie.
I gotta fucking see this.
It's
God,
so,
no shit, man.
I have barely scratched the surface. This film is fucking crazy.
What was this on?
I actually, funnily enough, I was sent this on Blu-ray from one Micah.
Aha!
So
Lucky.
full circle. Yeah, so I was like, I didn't bother to watch this movie. I should probably do that, huh?
Oh man!
It is incredible. I mean, it's beautiful. It's really well shot. It's weird as fuck. It's Italian, so I don't know what is happening, why it's happening. Like, there's very little explanation for a lot of things. Everything is really straight. Time does not matter. But there are just great moments. Like there's a knight helmet POV where, so all the knights are wearing these buckets with like crosses on the heads. And so you go into the POV where it's just like the cross slits going around like murdering people. There's just such cool, weird choices happening throughout. I super, super highly recommend this movie. And Basket Face. I mean, I love Basket Face. I want to be Basket Face for Halloween. She was incredible. It's hard to tell. Medieval
Cosplay.
times.
Hey, I expect to see you at Crypticon.
Basket face. Easy costume.
And really, really vague.
Really vague. Trivia. So I had talked earlier about wanting to do Demons 2 as my film, and at the very last minute choice decided to go with The Church instead. This was actually supposed to be Demons 3.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It was conceived as the third installment. Suave insisted, however, that once it got into his hands, that it be distanced from the series. He wanted this film to be sophisticated. And he personally rewrote the screenplay to remove all connections to the series, which is interesting because the previous draft was about an airplane that crash landed on an island with a volcano. And when the passengers arrived, it was a weird hellscape. So
I'm just going to take a little polish on this.
Yeah, boy, that is a rewrite.
He really rewrote it. The previous one was really based on Alien somehow. Mario Bava was meant to direct, but he left the project when the rewrite occurred, shockingly. So Michel Suave entered as the director. The film's title for the Spain release was El Engendro del Diablo, which means the spawn of the devil, which I'm glad the title wasn't that, because there is not really a spawn of the devil. Like, I guess the guy gets infected with the devil. Not really a spawn, though. The shooting was done in Budapest with additional shots done in downtown Hamburg. Originally, Suave and Argento wanted to shoot the movie in Lorenzkirch of Nuremberg, Germany, and even did test shots there. However, it was abandoned because the town of Nuremberg didn't want a horror movie to be shot there. In fact, basically no one wanted them to shoot this script in their church.
Sure.
I don't know how they convinced this one church to do it. I couldn't find the answer, but they got there.
I can come up with some possibilities.
Money? maybe.
Let me put another zero on this.
Maybe they just gave a different version of the script to the church and was like, hey, how about
that's
this
been
one?
done too. Some films have done that.
Seems like there's a volcano in the script. I don't know what you need this church for. The score was originally meant to be done by Keith Emerson, who did the score for Inferno, but Argento thought that what he came up with was terrible. He said it was worse than what a child would do. So instead, he used one or two of his tracks. He threw in some Bach for good measure, and then, of course, used two tracks by Philip Glass and Fabio Pagentelli, who is credited as the Goblin in the credits. So using Goblin actually really angered Suave, the director, who referred to them, I'm not sure if he referred to them or to the movie Demons, it was very unclear, as pizza schlock, but I thought that was incredible. He was pretty pissed at Argento, and this might have ended their creative partnership. The image of the biker's naked girlfriend hugging the winged serpent, hugging, that's what they're doing, was taken directly from a famous Boris Vallejo painting. The design for the lizard demon gargoyle painting that's being restored is taken from an infamous 1600s wood carving depicting a man selling his soul to the devil. Lottie, the sacristan's daughter, was played by Asia Argento in one of her earliest acting roles. Her father, Dario Argento, worked extensively on making the film, making the film in various positions. I don't even know why I wrote that down. That's nothing. Tagline for this movie: "You haven't got a prayer."
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, not a bad tagline. I was like, way to go, Italians. Now, I've talked about this way more than I intended to, but really, really cool. I'm shocked. It is up there with Argento stuff. It is really amazing. So check it out.
There's a lot of, if you start digging into the Italians, there's some wonderfully crazy crap.
Oh my God.
So I don't want to talk now because mine's not bad, but it ain't great. So I have got Arabella Black Angel.
Walk over this way. Excite me. You're like the Black Angel. You're like my new heroine.
Buy you a drink, lady?
I'd prefer to get screwed, Cowboy Tom.
She knows her mind, this girl.
A pretty messy show. Would you like a bite?
Could you tell me exactly what happened in here?
Glad to. There's a lot of blood around because they cut off the guy's dong. I mean his penis, his male organ. His member, including balls. Pesticles. Testicles.
Yeah? A message?
With these scissors crimes, it's all coming out again.
What made you write all those things? You must know that they're totally untrue. So why did you do it? I didn't kill him.
Deborah, you're dumb, but I love you.
Ooh, that sounds like a cool title.
1989. So squeaking it in there. It is not listed on Rotten Tomatoes. It's the same thing as that one I had at The Undertaker, I think, where I put it in there, didn't show up. I put in the director's name and it showed up under there, but it's grayed out.
Interesting.
So no Rotten Tomato score at all. We're really getting down there on these now, man. Directed by Stelvio Massi, who directed Taxi Killer, Cobra Nero, Hell's Heroes, Speed Driver, and Speed Cross. 2 different films. He's also a DP with more than 56 credits, including this film. It's written by R. Filippucci, and this is all he wrote.
One and done.
Only film credit. Stars Tina Casino, who was in Drive-In, International Airport, and Nightmare in Venice. Francesco Casale, who uses the same name in the film, was in Jolly Blue and Pirates Blood Brothers. This is Ladies Italian Movies. Starts off with the pulsing sound of keyboards and guitars in perfect, good sounding combination. They're like, okay, it's all guitars and keyboards. Now, okay, lay down the guitars and just play some random shit on keyboards over the top. We'll use that. So from the beginning, I'm going, oh, what have I got here? This movie starts out on what kind of looks like a super low budget version of Eyes Wide Shut, with the lead woman walking into this warehouse place full of all kinds of strange interactions between various clothed individuals, shall we say. And some guy is like, for example, there's a woman with a strap on and another woman using it to light a cigarette because it's got a candle lit on the end of it.
Ah.
All right.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Ah, that does not work for me.
She's being followed by a guy. I don't know who it is. He is not. His goals are never really articulated very well in the movie, but he's following her with a camera and trying to get photos of her doing bad things, which he succeeds in. It's a fairly uncomfortable scene, which makes very little sense, where she pulls in 2 guys to enjoy their company. And it starts off as an okay thing, and then part of the way through they start saying, you're going to work for us now. Every time you have sex, you're going to pay us.
Oh.
What the hell just happened? And the cops have now shown up, because this is some illegal stuff apparently. And I forgot to mention the people that she's sex with, she will give them 70%. She will get to be able to keep 30% of her earnings.
Is this how prostitutes happen?
Could be.
God.
I don't know. This all happens in like 3 minutes. So she gets arrested trying to escape, but the cop doesn't think much of what she was doing there. So remember we were talking Italian horror films in the 80s?
How much gang raping happens here?
Well, it's just one guy,
Okay.
just the cop.
Oh,
But the photographer gets all the pictures of it.
Oh boy.
the cop gets in what? Oh God.
What, do you want me to go into more detail?
No, I don't. I'm just trying to envision this. It's like really weird. Okay.
So next comes in some guy who's in a wheelchair typing away. The lady shows up and she looks so different. I thought it was a different person because when she went on her little escapade, she was wearing really long red wig and makeup was done differently. And she shows up going, so is this a different character? And figure out as the movie goes for a few minutes, go, no, that's her. And he rips into her verbally, being a real asshole. But she's sits down crying, remembering the fondly of a wedding day and her walking husband. and then driving away from the wedding and, well, getting in an accident. The cops arrive at her place later on. The cop that raped her earlier has come back for more.
Oh,
wow.
And says like, well, now I've got the blackmail against you. So, if you do this, if you don't do it, I'll tell your husband. So they start fooling around and the husband wheels his way into seeing them. And then she kills the cop. So I was like,
good for her.
This leads for an interesting idea for the husband who's having a hard time writing his new novel because he can't get any good ideas. So he's like, so you've been going out at night, right? You should do it again. I'll write about it. It'll be my new novel. You going out having sex and, well, she didn't plan on killing people, but I think that's what he had in mind. So this is all very much Cinemax, late 80s. This would have been a big hit for them. She does confess that she is an angel of the night. Has been going out for many nights to fulfill her needs. For some reason, he just gets rid of the cop's body and it's never really discussed again. So there you go.
Easy to do in a wheelchair.
That's right. Meanwhile, the photographer is trying to sell his photos to somebody because he puts together that cop that got killed. Apparently, everybody knows he's disappeared, but nobody really investigates it. So, but he wants to sell them photos that he took, and a black glove killer shows up. So she's going out again, and it's an 80s dance club. This is, like you were mentioning earlier, this is a painfully 80s looking thing. We've got neon clothing, black vests with white shirts and no collars on the shirts. And it's like, yep, that looks like the 80s. It also looks like a very gay bar. But apparently it wasn't, because she manages to pick up a guy in a cowboy hat with giant tassels on his brown leather jacket.
He was a singer of the Village People.
No kidding. He looked like if somebody writing this in Italy sat down and go, now what's an American look like? I've got it. So she picks that up. He kind of reminded me of Steven Seagal in his later years.
Oh.
But so she picks him up, and I think they were going for sexy in this scene.
No.
So she gets largely naked, opens up a bottle of champagne, and proceeds to pour the entire bottle. That's how long this scene goes, of her just pouring champagne down her front, going, you got in a weird position in the world where you're watching a fairly attractive woman get naked and you're really bored. Like, can this scene end, please?
Right.
This is not working at all.
And I'm like, man, they wasted all that champagne.
Yeah, that's right. Not any of it was consumed.
Oh.
But somehow the guy gets killed. The next morning we find out some part of him was removed.
I wonder which part.
Was it his pinky?
Close. You had the first few letters correct.
Not sure how you spell penis, but...
Well, the first letter, I guess. It's actually how I poorly spelled pinky in my mind there for a second.
I have concerns about everyone's mental state.
Yep, there you go. But now we've introduced to the detective who's working on the things. She's supposed to be really tough and mean thing, but then there's it's all 80s cliche. It's so cliche. The guy that's working with her comes in eating something. I don't even know what he's eating, but it's got double ketchup on it. They make a point of saying that. But somehow all the ketchup is on the outside of whatever he's eating. So it looks like he's just eating a big bun covered in blood. It's like, okay. They're supposed to add humor. I don't know what the point of this was. So the lead detective is troubled by what is heard. We find out later why, and it really doesn't make a big deal. But because is she hallucinating? Blood coming out of the sink? No, she just But they try to make a mystery out of it by saying that she didn't kill the man, but who did? It's like, it's pretty obvious she didn't kill the guy. We already knew that. I don't know if that's supposed to be news to us or just some bad dialogue between these people. But she wakes up the next morning with, I'm assuming her girlfriend, because they're laying in bed together and they're talking. Amazingly enough, no sex occurs between the two of them.
Whoa.
Which is kind of surprised being an Italian 80s movie. But she tells her deepest, darkest secret. But not yet, because the scene ends before she says it.
I have one.
But she did tell her the secret. And her girlfriend is so good that she immediately goes to the newspapers and sells them the story of how her lover's mother was killed with a knife to her genitals.
That's awful.
And so there's a relationship between the current murders. I think something happened to her dad too. But my note here is not allowed. Happens for 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes or so.
Oh, jeez.
There's another strange seduction scene with her husband in his wheelchair and her, where they start to get involved. And the mom who's living with them wanders into the room. I've got and stares at them for an uncomfortably long amount of time and then leaves. Okay. The B story of this betrayal by the girlfriend is very bizarre and just feels really shoehorned in. It doesn't really work, but detective gets fired by her boss because of the newspaper article. And let's see. Oh, we've got another Eyes Wide Shut kind of scene because he's got to return to the scene, of course. And of course, then there's the end. And I'll let you, if you're interested in this and you really love Italian Giallo, this is worth watching, despite how I made it sound. But it's really weird. It's really clumsy. It looks phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I said the guy's a DP, so it looks great. The acting is above par for a lot of Italian films. It's not quite a giallo, and it's not quite a Basic Instinct kind of, that erotic thriller thing that was really big in the late 80s. It sort of sits in a weird place between the two of them.
Mm.
It's part of Vinegar Syndrome's series. I think they're up to 4 box sets now of 3 movies each of forgotten giallo.
Mm.
And this is a pretty good entry into that because it's certainly nothing I had heard of before in all the reading and things. I'm sure Tony will know all about it. Boy, 80s, so shoulder pads are everywhere. Boy, I tell you, these shoulder pads, especially the 2 women are wearing, wow. You could have breakfast on those suckers. There's no Wikipedia. There's no IMDb trivia at all.
Wow.
There's very few reviews. Google even has the name of it misspelled. It's got the wrong name. It's Angela instead of Annabella.
I'm curious why you chose this one.
Oh, I've got those box sets.
Okay, so it wasn't like, okay.
It was like, okay, I looked at the 4 of them, and you read the back. What I did actually is I picked one of the 4 boxes, pulled out the 3 movies, and I IMDb'd for the highest rated one.
Okay.
And this was the highest rated one of the 3.
Wow, but no other information given.
Gosh, so little out there. There is an interview with Alexandra Heller-Nicholas. It's an audio essay, not really an interview, where she talks about the movie. She's written 9 books about films. I've got one of them called The Giallo Canvas, which is pretty decent. But she talks about how the director is far better known for camera and DP work. He was camera guy on A Fistful of Dollars.
Oh.
So as a camera, he did some pretty big work. She has a really interesting, strange breakdown of the really bizarre sexuality of the film. The power dynamics changes between the men and the women in really weird ways. So the woman being in power to not being in power to going back to being in power. And a final note, the lead is the daughter of Rita Hayworth's brother.
Beautiful.
So I would say if you're a Giallo completist, this definitely should be in your viewing. If you're a Giallo lightist, I would say there are far, far better Giallos out there to dive into first. Like That was the Cat o' Nine Tails I talked about a few episodes back and stuff, and the bird with crystal plumage, both much better.
Which is funny because I thought you didn't like Cat o' Nine Tails that much, or did you like it?
I liked it for what it was, but it has
Okay.
problems. It's weird. I mean, I think it was his first or second movie, so there's a lot of tripping going on. But
Wow.
Useless trivia moment. Did you guys know that's where the term you can't swing a dead cat in here, not enough room to swing a dead cat, actually comes from the Cat o' Nine Tails.
Does
Not
it
enough
really?
room to swing a cat o' nine
Oh.
tails. Is what that was.
Whoa.
weird.
That's incredible.
There you go. Hey, look, this episode was worth it just so you guys know that.
There you
It
go.
really was. I
I'm
had
gonna
a
have an easy
lot
time
of fun.
editing it because I'm gonna cut down and we're just gonna have 30 seconds.
I think we all owe Micah a round of applause and a big thank you for bringing this up as a topic, because I would not have watched my movie without it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to watch your movie, Vanessa.
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Eric, I like you
wouldn't-
very
I wouldn't
much as
bother.
a friend.
I wouldn't bother. The church, though. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have to check this thing out. I was I was like, this is so good. Why have I not run across this earlier?
Eric, I believe that makes the next episode your subgenre
It
pick.
is. What should I talk about? We're going to go wide again because this guy has got a giant catalog of films ranging from anything you can imagine to everything you can imagine. Christopher Lee.
Oh, Christopher Lee films.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah, I feel like he's got some options.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, he
Sure.
does.
I'm doing Attack of the Clones.
Nice. I'll just do Lord of the Rings.
Perfect.
There we go.
Done and done.
Nobody's ever heard of those.
We got to introduce it to the viewers, or listeners. Jeez.
Watch us in the theater of your mind.
Yes, I can only imagine what you believe we look like.
Speaking of the listeners, this is where I thank everybody who's been so nice, participating in the Value for Value model, or liking and sharing posts, or even just reaching out every once in a while. Just this morning, I got a Facebook message from Ron Forbeck where he just sent me a little video that I thought was really cool. And then a nice little, I hope your day is fantastic text from Danny Williford.
Aw.
I was just like, well, it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually Micah's best friend Eli has started listening to our show, and he's been backtracking through the catalog and came across our Godzilla episode.
Yeah.
And sent me a giant spreadsheet in order of best to worst Godzilla
Wow.
movies to check
Nice.
out. So very cool. I should share that with
That's
you guys.
excellent.
Yeah. So, okay. So that is the show. Thanks again for listening. Couldn't do it without you. Can't
That's
thank you
right.
enough. We will be back in 1 week and we're talking Christopher Lee movies. Strange Eons Radio is artisanal quality podcasting, handcrafted with all natural ingredients, and edited to perfection by Eric Margaret. Our blistering theme song is Strange Eons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider dropping a positive review on Apple Podcasts.
Don't watch it unless you want to watch all of it, because you will not just watch one of them.